Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham, and I've traveled to 114 countries, and I've been traveling now for 25 years. I'm a global citizen because I really try to enjoy every aspect of the world. Okay, um, I'm in Cañas Gordas, a city in Colombia, and I just left uh, two different cities, Necoclí and Turbo. And what is happening there in these two places, there's people going to a ferry. There's different, they call it the muelle, but the muelle means like dock or pier or whatever. And there's a pier in Turbos and there's a pier in Necoclí. Necoclí seems to be maybe the cheaper one. Okay, but what is happening is people come across from Venezuela and they're also flying in somewhere. I don't know how they get into Colombia, and a lot of people want this to all make sense, and it doesn't make any sense to me at all. And I've been studying it now for the last month. Okay, so what is happening? I went to Necoclí and I went to Turbo, and it's extremely organized situation. So the Darien Gap is where at the city called Ya Visa, Panama, the road ends. And then maybe you might say it picks up at Turbo, but it would really pick up if they went around the lower part of this bay and they went through right directly down through the Panama strip of land and went into Colombia, they would probably intersect maybe at Carepa or Chigorodo. Gordo. I think they might. You never know how they would try to do this, but there's some topographical maps on a link that I can put in here. And what is happening is I've been wanting to go through the Darién Gap for I don't know 20 some years, probably since 2000 when I was in Panama at in the year 2000. I went to the we gave back the Panama Canal. And okay, so what happened at this time, I started understanding the Darien Gap. And I flew from Panama to, I don't know, Colombia or Venezuela. I'm not sure where I flew. This is like 20 some years ago. But I happened to be lucky enough to be on the Panama Canal. I went from Cologne all the way to the other side of the gap. I mean, there's a canal that goes through this small portion of land, but there's a big lake in the middle. So most of it, there's a canal, there's a dock, and there's these dikes and different things that raise and lower boats. And I was a rope person that held the ropes for a very small boat. David Clark was a guy. He was trying to sail around the ocean, around the world solo. Okay, but so the road ends, and then there's a 60-mile gap with no road. And they're saying that they're calling this the world's most dangerous location. Now, inside this area, which is kind of a swamp, river, mountains, all sorts of different types of topography. It's there's I guess 5 different tribes, maybe 7, and it's really not any of the information that I'm reading is up to grabs, right? Nothing is clear. Okay, so right now it's become a popular thing because so many Haitians, and I don't know how the Haitians get over to Colombia. Okay, I don't know how they get to Haitian. There's definitely Chinese. Um, these guys are not wearing name tags. You don't really know. But I did go up to the dock, and in Necoclí there was a lot of people. In Turbo there was just a bunch of people camping. Okay, but in Necoclí there was literally at the dock people waiting to get on the boats. And I put them on my travel tips shorts. I make shorts now of things that I put only in my travel tips because it's mostly related to how to travel. The other one is more these long form videos trying to explain the world, okay, as best I can. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you that I understand what's going on. Okay, I'm not sure why everybody's going through the Darien Gap. I think it would be a lot easier to go up to like Barranquilla or someplace like that and get in a group of boats and go just go by water to, towards Cologne or one of the just going to the shore somewhere and unloading people. And I'm not sure why they have this very organized way of going across the Darien Gap. But it's not really going across the Darien Gap. And the reason why I'm not going is because it's not really what I wanted to do. Okay, what I wanted to do is enter from the lower part and go up a few rivers and kind of understand the tribal parts of it, the jungle parts, and there's a different thing. And I wanted to go on a slow, maybe 1 to 2, 3 week trip, okay, through the Darien Gap. And what they've got now is what they called it going across the selva. The selva is a word I think that means like the flat area. Okay, so what they do now is they go from Nekokli to Akandi. Akandi is Acandi. Akandi, and so they take a boat either from Turbo or Nekokli to Akandi, and from there they stage to go across to a place called, see if I got it on here, Bajo Chiquito. Okay, it's not on this particular map, but you've got 2 cities, and as I understand, in Bajo Chiquito, this is like a boom town. This is like one of them, you know, oil rich or gold cities. It's a boom town because there's so much money coming into this city that it's actually growing and prospering and whatever, even though there's not a road to it. Okay, now be careful here. When they say there's not a road, that doesn't mean there's not a road. Okay, when they say that there's no transportation, that doesn't mean there's no transportation. As far as I've understood the world, everything that you see on the internet is misinformation. Very few things are truthful. And I do think that what's happening is there's a lot of aid organizations that are settling on this area because there's a lot of money to be made by misery. Okay, so what is an aid organization? They sell misery. Okay, and they profit from misery. So the Médecins Sans Frontières, the Red Cross, all these guys, the bigger the calamity, the bigger the money. Okay, so World Vision is one of the worst, what I would consider one of the worst culprits on the planet. They definitely suck cash from things. But the way it works is you've got NGOs, non-governmental organizations. Then you've got the USAID and GIZ, which is the German one. And you got these different countries, and they have to distribute the money. So the way, when they try to give money to a situation, they give it to the I don't know, what you would call the reputable aid organizations, which are really the most sophisticated at collecting and receiving money from a tax benefit. So 501(c) is a tax designation for an American corporate nonprofit organization. They can receive money, so they all work together, and then they advertise this, and they go on the internet. So there's a spin thing. There's a self-prophesizing circle of things. The misery becomes the newspapers, the television, the internet post all the miserable stuff. You have these organizations that advertise to receive this money, and then they do it. So I think 90% is what I can tell. 90% of these are in Panama. Okay, they're not really in Colombia. There's a couple I saw, the UNICEF one and one other one, and I made the video the other day, and I showed the front of them. And then they all key in on issues. Okay, normally the big one is orphans. You know, any kind of women issues is always one. So they're talking about rapes and abuse and whatever. Okay, the minute that I got to the dock in Turbo, the guy walks up and says, $350, and we'll give you protection. We'll give you, his name was Jordan. I got his WhatsApp information so that I can contact him on one. But he said, we'll take you to the Panama border. Now, I don't think he's ever done the trip. But see, the Panama border is only like, I don't know, say 5-10 miles from this little strip. So what you do is you got this strip of land, and you ought to look at a map. And a lot of these people are just they're not really doing an investigation. And there's a bay, and on one side's Colombia, the other side's Colombia, and then you got these cities like Capagurna, I'm probably saying it wrong, Capergana, then you got Kandy, and you got a whole bunch of cities. And then those are all in Colombia. Then you go just a short ways, and then you cross into Panama. But I don't think there's any, at that point, I don't think there's any aduanos. Aduanos is the immigration. I think the aduanos is in Bajo Chiquito. And then the actual city where the road starts is Meteti. And this, what's interesting is this is really probably, I'm guessing 30, 40 miles up from the end of the road. Okay. So they're not actually going through the gap. They're bypassing most of it with the crossing this bay, and they're intersecting the thing. And as you go up farther into Panama, it becomes more and more populated. Okay. And why, what, who knows? But I think in the other side, receiving these people is many aid organizations, and what they're trying to do is act as if somebody's doing something wrong. Okay. And I got a guy came over when I was in Turbo. This guy Anderson, one of my motorcycle taxi drivers, had found a guy, and he wanted to take me by boat. See, I can go to Capergana, and then you can go to Querétaro, and you can go by land, and you can literally take a boat all the way to Cologne and skip the whole walking part if you want. Now, he wanted like $1,000, okay? In Turbo, they were quoting me at, say, $750 to not walk, okay, to actually take a boat around. But I can go to, legally, I can go to Cartagena and take one of these sailboat cruises across there for like probably $300, $400. They have these sailboats that go across back and forth, but they're entering legally and leaving legally, and they're leaving Cartagena legally and entering Panama legally. Okay, now this is where the thing gets fuzzy for me is why I got the guy kind of angry when I said this. I said, muy tonto, es bastante tonto, yo soy leal, I'm legal. Why would I pay somebody $800 or $1,000 to go on an illegal trip? And this is kind of why I decided not to do the trip, because it's very organized and very simple, but they don't really want legal people going through there. Why would they not want legal? Because we can talk, okay? We can explain a situation, and we don't have to keep our mouths closed. These guys are all on the sly, right? And they don't really want to have anybody explain the situation. I'm not going to go on it because it really is not what I had in mind for going through the Darién Gap. I wanted to go, there's a river that goes up into the mountains, and you kind of probably walk. See, rivers start in mountains as rills, okay? Then they work their way to creeks, and then they become rivers. And it looks like, and it's hard to say what the situation is. But when you go up to this hill, then you would go on the other side and probably get on another river and then go to a different way. So there's kind of a set of peaks, and it's hard to say without studying the topographical maps on the exact pathway. And I couldn't get anybody to show me a map showing how they would do it coming in from the Darien Park. See, what there is there's a Darien National Park. There's a park here. And then in here, somehow, there's cabins and stuff, and then you could work your way further and further. So ideally, what I would do is go to the Darien Park and sleep there or whatever, get a tent, get all my equipment, then try to figure out how to get a guide across the thing. Now, is it dangerous? I don't know. See, they're acting like there's full of guerrillas and narco traffickers and all this stuff. As far as I know, there's not any cocoreros or whatever, people growing coca in this area. It's really kind of a swamp. Most of the coca is grown on the Venezuela. There's a river between Venezuela and kind of goes to Rio Napo and Iquitos in Venezuela. And there's a big area there where it's kind of flat land and they're growing coca. Okay, that's certain. But I truly believe right now most of the coca is grown in Bolivia and Panama. No, Peru, the country of Peru. So, whatever. But this doesn't seem to be a coca growing region, so there's no reason for them to do it. And normally, when there's a coca region, there's little airports all over the place. Okay, and I haven't found any real airports. Now, there is an airport at Apartado, which is a very big city. And I would guess if you're going to put a road, you'd go between probably the ideal one to be Carepa or Apartado to Yachts, Visa, Panama. So you go from Apartado, Colombia. And I was looking for maps. I haven't found any maps where they propose it. And guess what? There's one thing I'm sure of. In Colombia, they know how to make a road. The road from Cañas Gordas to Turbo is absolutely gorgeous. They have bridges that go over big things. They've got, coming back, we went through at least 6 tunnels, okay? Tunnels right through the mountains, right? And some of them are pretty long. And then they have these, everywhere you go, they got these really elevated road going over quebradas or big areas where the mountains are coming together, big chasms. So they could easily do this road if they wanted to. Now, normally there's normally a financial reason why a road doesn't exist. Like the road between Bangkok, Thailand, and Cambodia is really bad because they want you to fly. Okay, I was always told that the airline was paying money to keep them from making this road good, so that people would fly over there. But here, you can see that the transportation. There's all these different types of transportation. Whether there's ferries, there's airplane fares, and so these people will suffer if the road was there. And on the other side is, why is there not a road? Okay, that's a good question. I do know that they could build the road if they wanted to. Okay, now, I haven't been on that terrain, and there's different routes. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 or 6 ways to get through this area, kind of half by boat and half by ferry, by boat. They got these dugout canoes that go up and down the river, and I think so. There's all many different ways. You can always go all the way over to the west side of the Panama, and you can actually go around along the coast and go around, and you can go around the right side and go down by the coast and get around this area. There's all sorts of ways. Okay, there's probably can get on a little plane in Apartado and get over somewhere over there. So what I think is happening right now is a lot of the aid organizations are settling on this area to try to encourage people to do it. Now, you understand, to encourage people to do something that would be dangerous. And they're making it. They're giving free meals at the Nickel Clee for people, and all the stuff is set up, okay? Now, the only thing that it does seem really reputable is that it sounds like you're not going to be able to go on the trip unless you're fully outfitted, and it looks like you need to buy about $100 to $150 worth of gear and have everything you need to go on it so that they can go across it with enough food. They were even recommending I buy tuna, okay? And you can buy a tent for about $20, a 2-person tent. Hey, I had mosquito. The funny part is I am carrying a mosquito net because mosquitoes are a real problem. Now they were showing long clothes. I brought a long sleeve shirt because I didn't realize they were this sophisticated. They are selling camping gear, and the video I made yesterday shows all pictures of all the gear. They even have a little thing that you can put your cell phone in and whatever. It'd be real interesting to see if there's cell phone access in the middle of the Darien, okay, on this path. But the real walk is between Acandi and a place called Bajo Chiquito. And why these people it's not, are they documented or undocumented? That's the unclear part. I was told by a friend that maybe the Chinese people are coming real easily with their passports into Ecuador, then they're traveling to countries that won't allow them to travel. See, not every country will allow you to travel. The United States is very fortunate. We can go to about any country with, just show up. Okay, they call it I call it a visa on arrival. They call it a visa, but it's not really permission to enter the country. Okay, so I don't need to do all these games, and I can travel to Panama by airplane, which is only about $140, $130. I'm going to buy another ticket. I have a ticket from Panama City to Guatemala on the 23rd, but I'm not going to use it, so I'm going to buy another ticket, which is about the same price, from Medellin to Guatemala. Then I'll stay there for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll fly to Tampa, and then I'll fly to Monterey, California, to see what's going on with the homeless people there. Okay, but you can see that there's a migration now. Migration of people has always happened. Okay, and it just kind of makes sense that we migrate from difficult areas to what they consider easier. I don't believe that anybody should be leaving their families and migrating and doing this kind of, because they're leaving a very good life, and a lot of times for a really busy life. I mean, the United States is becoming more and more, and they don't go to the unpopulated areas, they go to the overpopulated areas. Poverty specifically has to do with human density. So when I get on Wikipedia and I'm looking at a city, I'm trying to read the part on human density. The United States has like 51 persons per square mile or something like that. But you go to New York City, it might be 5,000, 10,000, I don't know. But human density is the problem on the planet, and the urbanization, and don't think that people really understand what they're doing. They're going where they're following the leader, okay? So the leaders are doing it, and the aid organizations are making it easy, and they're giving them free housing in the United States. So it's a great time to go there if you want to be living as an outlaw, okay? It's not legal. On the other side is Biden got in trouble for calling them illegal immigrants, undocumented. What do you want to call these people? They are not entering the United States in an illegal way. It's illegal entry. And this is we will become what they call a banana republic. I was laughing when we finally got up to there was 2 regions. I'm leaving like a coffee area of Colombia right here at Cañas Gordas. Then we went into an area where it was like cattle. And then when I got up towards Turbo, it became very large banana plantations with the little bags hanging on the thing. I wasn't able to get any picture. The bus was completely tinted windows, air conditioning, freezing. It was nice on the bus, had a toilet. But it's the worst possible bus for taking photos, okay, or making videos, because the tinted windows. Okay, but so you got 3 different areas. I'm in a coffee growing area. Then you got they call it the Campos. And then you got the cattle area where they're growing, they have steers and beef. Looks like mostly Charolais and Guernsey, it looked like. But Charolais was the big one. It's a white steer. And then you had typical bananas like you would have in Honduras or something. Honduras is full of banana plantations. And it's up north towards south and whatever of Belize. They're quite fun to go to because they're quite beautiful in a certain way. It's kind of like, not as beautiful though as a tea plantation. If you really want something beautiful, go to a tea plantation. I was one in Natitingu, I think it was Natitingu, Kenya, and there's some in south of Goa. Tea is beautiful. When you go there, it's just big green plant. It's really beautiful. It's kind of like in Colombia, some places. In Costa Rica, there's areas where they're growing so much coffee that it's just like a sea of green, right? Okay, but the whole thing is organized. And it's somewhere between $350 to walk, okay? It's about $800 to $1,000 to take a boat illegally. Okay, so if you got the money, you can just pay whatever. So Where this money is going to, I am not sure. I think it's being distributed through all the organizations. Then the aid organizations try to see what they got is never-ending set of pictures of very. These people are not physically fit. Okay, these people are some of them are. Yeah, the Chinese seem real physically fit, but they don't get fat easy, right? But this was a hodgepodge group of people, and you can see that the video I made yesterday showed some of the tents, and these tents are everywhere. They're really cheap to buy, and they're very organized. But the good part here is somebody is telling these people they have to get outfitted. They have to have their gear and cooking gear. I mean, 2 days, 2 day walk, you don't even need food, right? You can live for up to 1 month. The average person probably live for at least, I don't know, 60 days with no food. So the food is a secondary issue for things. I was sitting there going a couple cans of tuna for 2 or 3 days, and very organized. And one of the reasons I wanted to go on the trip was because I didn't want to go on it alone. When I went to see the uncontacted tribes in near Pucallpa, Peru, I was very alone. I flew in a little plane, popped over to a place called Breu, Peru, and I was in this village with only generator comes on at 1 hour a day, and they actually had internet, free internet, almost a free place to live. But this is the opposite of an adventure. This is not an adventure. This is a pay-to-play situation. Now, if you're a journalist and you wanted to go investigate this and have some fun, it'd be real easy to go to Panama than just go to the city called Meteti. And I'm sure that it's really simple at that point to go do anything you want to do. And you're going to have all these people after the trip, okay, and before the trip. So they're saying it's a 2-day trip. They kept warning me, you have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I kept going, this is just like a military camp. They're going to try to get all these chubby people to walk across this thing at a high speed. Now, I have bad knees right now, and I'm not really, so paying $500 to just go for a 2-day walk in a very uncomfortable situation. Carrying, you could probably need it for 2 days trip. You'd need to really carry about 3 or 4 gallons of water. And I'm not even opposed to drinking the water out of the rivers there because they're not polluted, right? But I have a constitution now. I've drank water. I say I've drank water and been inoculated in 114 countries. So what is the situation? Who knows? What do I do know is everybody, this is a boomtown situation. This is a money-making thing for somebody. And the reason why I think there might be some sexual exploitation is because there are women that don't have any money that would do a trade of sex for a free trip or a free thing. So you can see that when you're under the, and this is the problem about any kind of normal corruption, is you do something wrong and you have to pay, whether you pay with sex or money or whatever. Now, when I looked at the guy's eyes, I told him it was kind of a crazy thing. He was violent, okay, and I realized that all he cared about was the money. This is a bunch of soulless people in a lot of ways. The guys on the boat, and one of the bigger reasons why I didn't go to Akandi or Cap or Perganya is because I get very seasick. So even a 40-mile trip across this bay, 40 miles by boat, and Turbo is probably longer, but Nekokli is the biggest area. And what is interesting, though, anybody that's in Colombia, I can say as a backpacker, this has got to be one of the easiest places to backpack I've ever been. Okay, the transportation's everywhere and is very good. I mean, you got air-conditioned buses, you've got all different types of transportation, and what's even more is every single city has an overabundance of hotels. Okay, the only city that was a little full was Nekokli. Turbo was absolutely open. You can get a room real easy. Nekokli seems to be pretty filled up with people. I don't know who they are, right? But for some reason, this country has things. It might be that people are investing with a lot, piles of money are investing in hotels. Very common for people to put money in hotels because it's kind of a profitable business. It's an easy business. And I'm in, even in every single village we stopped in, when the buses slowed down, I tried to check out the things because none of the cities between Cañas Gordas and Apartado, they were all horrible. There was one city that I thought might be kind of interesting called Carepa. But generally, there seems to be two cities in the paradise climate situation. This is about 4,500 feet or 1,300 meters, the same as Boquete, Panama. Boquete, Panama is one of them endless spring places, as is Cañas Gordas. There's also a city called Frontin, which I'm going to go to. And I'll probably make a video pretty soon talking about all the places on the planet with the paradise climates. And so Medellin, Colombia, the double L is pronounced like gin or yin, or they pronounce it different in every country, is also at about 1,300 meters or 1,500 meters. And so it's got a really nice climate, other than it's got about 3 million people, right? Which is, the bigger the city, the bigger the problems. As a global citizen, as a world traveler, I try to experience everything, but I try to avoid the overpopulated human density. When human density reaches a certain point, it gets crazy. And there's a reason why people in the East Coast, West Coast are sort of lost the plot. They've lost the plot. Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham, and I'm all about telling the truth about things. And one of the things that I've realized is that the truth has become a non-profitable business, okay? Me making videos about the truth, nobody cares because I'm competing with people that are lying, okay? And that's funny. The aid organizations, I don't know what to say. It's one of the biggest businesses on the planet. And I'll never forget, I was in Niamey, Niger, when I flew to Niamey, Niger, because they said they were having a famine. I get there and it's not a famine. It's a complete malnutrition. It was real that children were dying, but they were dying of malnutrition. They only had 5 foods really in Niger. And then you had these great big plantations where they grew things, and they were an exporter of food, but they only had 5 food groups like beans and kind of a milpa situation. Milpa is when they grow like 3 foods in one area. That's in Guatemala. But I was sitting in this bar completely full of black people, and I'm sitting there with this German girl that was there as an NGO. Okay, and if you want to know where to go to, get hooked up with an NGO, and they're going to always know the best bars. They're going to know the best. What I'm always hooking up with is I want to go to a hotel with a swimming pool, and this girl was taking me. But I'm sitting there complaining about the situation, and the guy from Rwanda that was there on something, he goes, "Andy, it's a business. It's a business. So is prostitution. It's a business." My Thai girlfriend used to really get upset when I would complain about prostitution in Thailand. She goes, "Andy, it's a business." Okay, aid organizations is a business, okay? It employs a lot of people, and it's a number one way to go live abroad and act like you're doing something. As a rule of thumb, aid organizations always build a building. They're never going to finish your job. And that's one reason why Nicaragua might be on the up and coming, is because I think the president of the country kicked out all the aid organizations, which makes them turn into thing. This is kind of like happens in Haiti too. Haiti is in turmoil really because of the aid organizations. They don't fix things. They actually exacerbate the problem because they enable people to think that they're going to get like free money. So it's like welfare. We have second, third generation welfare in the United States. One of the worst possible things. The minimum wage, Milton Friedman could talk about this. Watch Milton Friedman talk about the minimum wage. Minimum wage should not exist because what it does is it doesn't give full employment, because there are people that would just want to go work for a cheaper amount of money, which makes it more business, and business prospers. Nothing good about minimum wage. When they try to raise it, all they're trying to do is, get votes, I guess, because free money gets votes. So buy votes. So what is happening right now? They're buying votes in the United States by undocumented people. Okay. I'm Andy Lee Graham. Please become a Patreon person, and that allows you to start communicating with me if you want. I'll answer your emails, or more willing to. Please, if you're on my SOL list, shit out of luck list, please do not become a Patreon. It's amazing. Just sometimes it's amazing. But I've traveled to over 100 plus countries. I'm a global citizen. I live as a traveler. I don't really live anywhere. And I recommend everybody travel, because it's one of the most, right now, with the way the news and press is, the only way to understand what's going on in the world is to travel. But don't get into a channel where you research the website. Don't go researching a country before you go. Learn about the country, then research. The worst possible thing you can do is a self-prophesizing act of studying a country, thinking you understand it, because you don't understand anything. Okay? Go to the country, try to understand it, go all these places, then start reading Wikipedia. Don't read these YouTube channels. They are 100% hokey. Okay, hokey. I got to be nice, right? No, I don't. I'm Andy Lee Graham. I'm here and you're not. Why not? I'm in Kappa. Cañas Gordas. It's like fat bamboo. That's what it means. I thought at first it was sugar cane, because usually they talk about sugar cane with the word caña. Okay. The truth is messy. When things are too organized, when they're putting music in the background, that is them trying to maneuver your brain to try to get you to believe a song and dance. It's the song and dance world. That's why you should be very careful when you're watching YouTube videos or reading websites. They are no longer, as Eric Schmidt said, the ex-CEO of Google, of all places, the internet is a cesspool of misinformation. If you want the truth, become a supporter. I'm Andy Lee Graham. Hit the subscribe button, and life is good. Life is good.